Hello and welcome to VR for Work. This is the show where we talk about how we get the most out of VR in relationship to productivity, efficiency, and just getting work done. My name's Rick and I'm your host here at VR for Work. And if you're wondering, if you're looking at my avatar, at my Lumi, and wondering, yes, the devs are still working on actually getting the hair off of my head so that I can restore the luxurious shine that you're all used to seeing from the earlier videos. But that's another topic. Today we're talking about an application that squarely fits into the training and education category within VR for Work. If you've watched our previous videos, you know that we suggest that there are 4 categories of apps for VR. There's gaming and entertainment, there's productivity and collaboration, and there is meeting and collaboration, and training and education. Acadicus, which is the application we're talking about today, is a platform focused on simulations and performing training and education within those simulations. Instructors can take spaces, set up 3D objects, walk students through scenarios, and really leverage the power of VR to get the most out of a training session with a group. So with that, give me 1 second. I'm going to go across the stage and get set up, and then we'll jump into our overview of Acadicus. I really wanted to thank John Brouchard, who is one of the, or the lead developer and principal at Acadicus, for walking me through and giving me access to the platform, and appreciate you being here, and hopefully you'll learn something new and interesting today that you'll be able to put to effect in your organization or for yourself. And so with that, let's jump in. So again, the platform we're talking about today is Acadicus. And Acadicus is a training and education platform designed for VR and focused on simulations. So you take pre-configured environments with pre-configured 3D assets. You can customize learning scenarios, and you can have them take place with live classes and participants, one-on-one or small classes, or you can set your scenario up and record it so that students can go back and actually participate in those recordings rather than kind of just watching a dry video or a audio tape of perhaps a class session. Really designed to enhance skills, so for skills and procedural training. Really gets at that critical thinking, going through a process step by step, and actually utilizing your body or that kinetic element of a process so that you're developing muscle memory. Participants don't have to be in the same place. So just like we have this large auditorium that I use here within the spaces environment, we don't have to get together to be in this large auditorium to take part in my presentation today. People can be remote and take part in it, and even take part in it after the fact through the recording element. There's a heavy healthcare focus, as you'll see in the demo, but they're not exclusive to healthcare. You'll see that Acadicus can pretty much develop a scenario or training simulation for just about any industry or any situation. There are options both for larger organizations who may want to use Acadicus and develop whole training, sets of training material, or for individual trainers who may have a specialty that they want to utilize VR for. And then they give you an option to take that content and make it available to others, either to share or to actually sell if there's that level of interest and value in the topic. And so what do you need in order to run Acadicus? Well, it runs on a VR-capable Windows PC. There is a Windows-based client for 2D participation so that users who don't have headsets can still go into Acadicus, still get to the materials and take the training. But the real power, of course, is when you have a headset and you can actually live within the simulation that you're taking part in. And right now, Acadicus is restricted to the Oculus Rift environment. You have to have a Rift S, or a Quest in order to run Acadicus and get into it. They're looking to expand beyond that, but right now they're limited to the Oculus platform. And so with that, let's go ahead and jump into the demo. And you'll see that if you're familiar with using the Oculus Link, you can see that I'm kind of jumping into the environment that way. And so this space that I'm coming into is a good example of a kind of blank simulation environment. And this is what they call the commons. So here in the commons, you can see they show off some 3D assets like this beating heart over in the corner. They have some instructions for students right in front of you so that you can kind of see how to use the transport functionality and all the buttons on your controllers. And then along all the walls, you can see a lot of the free and the demo environments that they have. And I wanted to call this out because, again, there'll be a large focus on healthcare, but you can see they have fall safety. They have horse vet demo. They have a oil rig demo scene. And then here's a couple of more 3D assets here that I couldn't help but pick up and play with. And certainly you can get the idea from a fire safety perspective, how users can actually pick up and manipulate and utilize some of these tools that they would be utilizing in real life. And that is where the secret sauce is with Acadicus. It's not just reading or visualizing something, a nice little flamethrower. Who doesn't like to play with that, right? Not just reading or visualizing something or kind of watching a very dry presentation, but you're actively participating in whatever simulation you're involved in. And again, some additional demo environments that they have here, a sandbox scene, which is just what it sounds like. Users can go in and create their own simulations. So what they're showing here is all pre-rendered recordings or areas that users can go into to either, they might want to leverage it. Here's a fall safety training program. Or a company may want to come in here and build their own in the sandbox. So you have a warehouse scene, and down here a little bit further, here are a couple of examples of recordings, layered learning, and conducting a one-on-one, an HR kind of seminar, where again, the participant in Acadicus gets to take part in the actual learning environment. Again, it's not dry, just kind of hoping that the student picks it up and receives it. The student is actually in the environment taking part in it. You'll notice these little keypads around in all the environments, and the way you jump from one area to the other is using the little keypad. Each scenario would have a code that you would punch in here, hit enter, and then you would be taken to that area. And I think we're actually going to jump into a demo here. You see we have coronavirus. Now this wall here is pretty heavily healthcare oriented. And we're going to go into this scene here, ECG placement, putting on ECG leads. And I got to tell you, I've worked in healthcare for over 30 years. And immediately when I went into this scene, I was really, really impressed with the level of detail and just the interactivity that Acadicus has brought to these scenarios. So again, I'm just kind of scanning the room. It looks like a kind of a typical hospital room you might find over here on one side. And again, I can't help but imagine there's an instructor who's taking a class through a tutorial on how to set up ECG leads on a patient. And of course, we've got our 3D rendered hearts here, along with the ECG readout. The idea being, hey, let's associate this readout with the actual muscle and what's going on in the various areas of the heart that correlate and correspond with this ECG process, right? So you can actually see the valves moving, the heart beating, and we can go over here to the patient. And again, I was really struck with the level of detail. We've got our ECG machine over here beside the bed, and then here are the leads. Now, what I want you to notice is as I pick a lead up on the patient's chest, you get a good view of this, you'll notice that I have these little highlighted areas of where the leads go. So I pick up a lead, I put it on the right area of the chest, and so on and so forth. And I think this is so important. You know, again, developing that muscle memory and having the student actually participate in and feel what it is that they're doing. And then I'm actually picking up the lead, and we've got all the different colored leads here, and then I would place it on the patient on the chest or on the feet. Got to put these two leads on, and then we'll go back and put the clips on. And what's interesting, again, you know, looking at this patient, again, very realistic, very lifelike. And John was showing me, and I don't have it in this video, that as an instructor, he has a whole set of tools at his disposal. And he can even kind of what he called possess these avatars here and actually make them do things. So a student may have to deal with an uncooperative patient, or they may have to deal with a patient who suddenly is in distress. But the idea is to have the student actually go through a process step by step over and over to get it right. Now, I can tell you, hospitals spend tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in time, equipment, and resources to set up these training simulation labs, to have people come to them to do what you're looking at right here in this simulation that Acadicus provides. And I believe that this would be just as good and just as valuable doing it in VR in a headset as it would taking the time to go into the lab that costs $100,000, that's using expensive folks to run it, and only get one shot at doing it, versus I can drop into this lab as many times as I want, view a recording of my instructor, go through this process over and over, and get the feedback that I need. And we'll talk about the efficacy of VR training towards the end of this presentation. But again, just highly, highly impressed with the level of detail and how you can set up and manipulate various scenarios here in Acadicus, and the opportunity that's there for training in various processes. So I go over to the keypad, I go back out to the commons, and we're going to take a look at one more, I think, healthcare related item. And we're back here at the commons, and we'll go over, I'm going to go over to this featured demonstrations wall for a second and pause here. And this is one of the physicians that's working with John over at Acadicus. This is Dr. Nick Slayman. He works at DuPont Children's Hospital, and he's worked with the team to actually come up with a couple of demos that, again, if you reach out to Acadicus and you want to go check out yourself, pediatric airway readiness and central venous line insertion. Again, these are very intricate, very detailed, very expensive trainings to have to put on and do. And utilizing VR and a platform like Acadicus, it is really exciting to think about how students now can leverage the VR technology and still get the same level, if not a better level of training with these tools that they could get in person. And again, we're gonna talk about that point towards the end. So let's go over here, medical and healthcare environments, and we're gonna take a look at this anatomy demo section. And they have an OR suite, they have a vehicle accident scene. So again, an exam room. I'm going to pull up again the anatomy demo. And this just, again, gives you a sense of the scale of the 3D assets here in Acadicus. And so we come back into the room, and you can see we've got various 3D models of organs. And here we have the organs kind of outlined within the body. And again, you tend to put yourself in the role of an instructor, and having students be able to visualize and move around and manipulate various organs within the human body. We can go over and we can take a look, and we've got all the various systems. So you've got the muscular system, musculoskeletal, we've got circulatory, we've got the lymph system, the nervous system, the digestive system, and you can kind of imagine that an instructor would lead a class through a number of these in detail. And then you can take specific organs and actually blow them up. And let's see if I'm on the right slide. Oh, come on. Get next one. Yeah, here we go. And so then I can take specific organs within those anatomies and, you know, blow them up, do call outs, and quiz and test the students on their knowledge of the anatomy. Okay, we'll go back to the commons and we'll do something now that's not healthcare related. It's a little bit of a transition as we go to the common room. And this one's going to be one that just looked interesting and enjoyable to me. And again, not healthcare related, and that was the Black Hawk helicopter overview. So I'm going to jump into that for a second. And this one I found really interesting because it was an example of a recording by an instructor that a user or a class could go back into time and time again to refresh and get information on. And so as we come in here, we've got the large model of the Black Hawk, which, you know, a little bit of a geek about. And then right here in front of me, you can see these little squares, which are media players. And as I click the media player, you don't hear him in the background, but this is actually John, who again is a principal at Acadicus and gave me my tour. He's there and he's kind of talking the student through an overview of the Black Hawk helicopter. Now, I'm going to give a confession here. I was not paying attention really to what John was saying. I was geeking out a bit, wanting to look around the helicopter. And because I didn't pay attention, what you'll notice is that there are these little quizzes along the side of the body of the helicopter. And the idea is, well, you listen to the instructor speak. He calls out specific areas. For instance, this is the tail rotor. And he talks about some of the details behind that. And if you pay attention better than I did, you're able to then answer the multiple choice quiz that's present right there on the tail of the helicopter. So we'll let this run a second and we'll go back. I'm going to take a look around the helicopter. Again, I was geeking out a little bit. This was super cool to me. Go kind of in and through the helicopter, get a different view, like you're inside it. And then I come back and we go up to the last section where John's talking about the avionics controls, up here where the pilots sit. And of course, again, I'm a little ADD and I'm not paying attention. And then I go over and I go, okay, how much fuel does the UH-60 internally carry? And I was not paying attention. So I just start clicking buttons. But again, a good example of how you can build within Acadicus to do this reinforcement, this knowledge reinforcement, as the students go through the training. And then how many rotor blades does the main, yep, got those wrong also. I think I might have to give up my hope of being a helicopter pilot someday. All right, well, we're going to go out here and back to the Commons, I think, and this is about the end of the demo. So let's go ahead and we're going to jump forward. All right, so what about our assessment of Acadicus? So you might be familiar with this. This is our VR for Work, a platform assessment. So consumption and retention. So Acadicus is all about consumption of information and retention of information. And given that it's, training and education and walking people through different scenarios, scenes, procedures, and processes, I can't imagine a better platform where somebody actually, again, uses that their senses, the way you do in VR, to reinforce and consume and retain information and processes. So fantastic. Production and efficiency. There's a whole element of Acadicus that we haven't gotten into in this particular video. John is going to give me access and give me a tutorial on creating these scenes. And when I get that, I'm going to come back and we'll go over the production and efficiency. But you can get a sense that there's really kind of no limits to what you can create. That's one of the things with VR, right? There's kind of limitless resources. It's your imagination and your time. And you can build these scenes and these scenarios that you can run people through as many times as you might want. You saw the examples of the fall safety. I can imagine active shooter drill. I can imagine putting in an IV. Okay, and now, how about efficiency and flow? One of the magical elements, again, about working in VR is that you remove all the distractions. We have constant conversations at work, at the hospital, about having meetings off-site, because when you're on-site, there's so many other things that are going on that get your attention, that pull you away from the moment, that distract you, that you don't focus, you don't get that in the zone flow that's necessary to kind of retain the information and get the best out of yourself. So yeah, I think efficient flow and ergonomics, moving around, I think it's as simple as you can get. Social and collaboration, again, this Acadicus is designed for small classes to come in and do these, and then for larger groups to be able to access the recordings on demand as they want. And then value, there's not a price schedule that's available or that I could share with you, depending on the need and the demand, whether you're a large corporation looking for the platform to be open to you so you can create the number of scenarios you want, or if you're an individual trainer who has a certain special skill set and you want to do a very specific, maybe customer service orientation training that you want to sell, you can work that out specifically with John and Acadicus, and they'll be able to talk you through and come to some arrangement. I wanted to go over this study, this Price Waterhouse study that just came out this year, called the VR Advantage: How Virtual Reality is Redefining Soft Skills Training. And these numbers are just incredible. VR learners are 4 times faster to train than in the classroom. 275% more confident in applying the skills learned after training. That number just boggles my mind. 275% more confident in applying skills after training. 3.75 times more emotionally connected to the content than the classroom learners, and 4 times more focused than their e-learning peers. It's one thing to sit in a classroom and be told, okay, you're now at the scene of an accident, let's walk through what you do. right? And kind of pretend versus putting this headset on and being at the scene of an accident and having folks laying on the ground and then having to decide a triage, right? That could be a training scenario. That is going to impact somebody many times greater than any kind of classroom training. I encourage you to go look this up. Again, the VR Advantage, Price Waterhouse Cooper. The study was done just this year. This isn't old stuff. And so I think platforms like Acadicus can really provide tremendous value to just about any kind of training you might want to do. And so we're going to end with our thought for the day, if you will, related to productivity. And in this case, I picked one having to do with time. Time is the scarcest resource, and unless it is managed, nothing else can be managed. And you know, VR gives us such a limitless amount of resources, and it does also allow us to leverage and bend time a bit. When I was, you know, coming up in my career and I needed to go to a class, right, there was a physical place I had to go. There was time that took to and from a specific location. Whereas now in my home, I can put on a headset and I